Okay, order of operations is something that that's talked about in lessons 11, 12, and 13. And it starts off real basic in lesson 11, but as the lessons go along, the operations, the problems get harder as you go through these lessons. So we're going to combine lessons 11, 12, and 13 and talk about order of operations. Now there's other topics in these lessons also, but the common topic is order of operations. Now let's take a look at a phrase that you've probably used before, and you've probably heard the phrase, "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally," with the P standing for parentheses, the E standing for exponents, the M for multiplication, the D for division, A for addition, and the S for subtraction. And what this phrase is, and we just abbreviate it as PEMDAS, what this phrase is it tells us the order of operations. So for example, if you had 3 plus 2 times 7, we have to use the order of operations on this because there's different answers we could get if we don't use the order of operations. For example, if you added 3 plus 2 first, which is 5, and then take that times 7, you get 35. But that's a totally different answer than if you multiplied first. 2 times 7 is 14, and take 3 plus 14, and here you would get 17, and actually this would be the correct answer. So the reason for order of operations is so that we have a consistent way of getting a consistent answer. Now, one last thing I want to emphasize about PEMDAS is that when you have both multiplication and division going on, you just do those in the order that they arrive there. So if you had a problem like 3 times, here, let me change that. Say you had 3 divided by 3 times 4. Okay, the M coming before the D doesn't mean you necessarily do that first. You just do them in order. You do all the multiplication and division in order. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and then I take the 1 times the 4, and the answer to this one is 4. So you do the multiplication and division in order. Same thing with addition and subtraction. Just because the A is first doesn't mean you do addition first. It's whatever comes first. So if you had 3 minus 2 plus 6, I just do those in order. 3 minus 2 is 1, and then 1 plus 6, I get 7. So again, I don't have to do the addition first just because it's the A is first before the S in the phrase PEMDAS. I'm going to use this in one of the problems. And what I have here is PEMDAS over PEMDAS. And what this is referring to is whenever you have a division bar. So for example, I think it's example 5 is where we have a division bar like that. And I like to remember PEMDAS as PEMDAS over PEMDAS when you have a division bar. So let's take a look at example 1. On each of these examples, I'm going to write the word PEMDAS as we go through each example. So I'm going to go through these fairly quick, so if you need to pause it, do that. All right, first thing I do is parentheses. Now, you know what? I don't have parentheses here. And when we say parentheses, we mean, is there any parentheses where there's work to be done inside the parentheses? Sure, I have parentheses, but the reason for the parentheses here is to show multiplication. So the reason for the parentheses is for multiplication. So really, technically, I don't have any parentheses. Now, do I have any exponents? No. So check, check. Do I have any multiplication? I do. So I need to do this, and then I need to do this. So 6 times 3 is 18 minus, now take 4 times 5 times 6, and just multiply them in order. If you can multiply, the order you multiply doesn't make a difference. So even if you want to take 4 times 6 and then take that times 5, you could. Let's see, I'm just going to go in order. 4 times 5 is 20, and 20 times 6 is 120, so minus 120, right? Let me check that. So 20 times 6, yep. All right, now take 18 minus 120. 18 degrees above 0 drops 120 degrees. Well, obviously your answer is going to be negative. You're going to take the difference between those two. So what do we have there? 102, I believe. So let's see, 120 minus 18. My mental math isn't the greatest today. Let me check that. 2, 0. Yeah, so negative 102 is right. Okay? And we're done. All right, example 2, again, use PEMDAS. So I'm just going to go right through the letters. Let's see, is there any parentheses where I have work to do in the parentheses? Answer is no. Do I have any exponents? No. Do I have any multiplication and division? Answer is yes. I have multiplication, I have multiplication. So I take 13 minus, notice where my minus sign comes from, 4 times a negative 5 is a negative 20, minus 3 times 10 is 30. Now, if you're trying to do this on your calculator, and all you're doing is punching it in all at once, big no-no. I would do it just like I'm doing here. I would write it out because you're going to make mistakes. So I would write the 13 down, minus, then you could take your calculator and take 4 times a negative 5 if you wanted to, minus, and then 3 times 10. You could do it that way. Now, let's simplify this. I'm just going to add and subtract in order now, because I've taken care of all the multiplication and division. So 13 minus minus 20 is plus 20, minus 30. Now add and subtract in order. 13 plus 20, I get 33, minus 30, and our answer is 3. Again, don't do it all on the calculator all at once. If you're using a calculator, write it out a little bit and have use your calculator for some of just the basic facts. All right, example 3, PEMDAS again. Do I have any parentheses where there's work to do in the parentheses? The answer is yes. Figure this out, figure this out. So on the left one, let's see, negative 3 below 0 drops 2 more. The temperatures drop 5 degrees. So I have that in the parentheses, right? What do I have in the other set of parentheses? Negative 4 minus 1. Take away 4, take away 1. That's a negative 5. Now, I've taken care of the parentheses. Are there any exponents? No. Is there any multiplication? You bet. Because now I have a negative 5 times a negative 5. Now the parentheses are showing multiplication. Answer, 25. So again, you can take your calculator and take a negative 5 times a negative 5 and get a positive 25. But don't try punching this in just like that and do all that, because you're going to make a mistake. All right, example 4. Let's go through the letters. So do I have any parentheses with work to be done in them? Yes, and yes. So I have a negative 5 parentheses. Let's see, negative 3 minus 3, take away 3 more. You've taken away 6. Plus 2, what's 1 minus 3? Negative 2. 1 degree above 0 drops 3. That's it, it's at a negative 2. Are there any exponents? No. Any multiplication or division? Answer is yes. This is multiplication now. This is multiplication. So maybe you might take your calculator now and take a negative 5 times a negative 6, positive 30, plus, because of the plus sign. What's 2 times a negative 2? Negative 4. I've taken care of the multiplication and division. Now, any addition and subtraction? Yep, just one addition, right? 30 plus the negative 4. So 30, take away 4. That's easy, 26. All right, example 5 is the one I was referring to earlier, where you have this division bar. So think of it as PEMDAS over PEMDAS. So do your order of operations on top of the bar, and do your order of operations below the bar. So let's see, on top of the bar, use PEMDAS. Do you have any parentheses? Answer is yes, right here. 10 minus 8 is 2. So I have a negative 3 times 2 minus a negative 4. All right, I've taken care of the P there. Now I'm going to do the same thing down below. Now there's other work. In fact, here, let's do it this way. I'm just going to write these out as I go along. Let's finish out the top. Now, is there any exponents in the top? Answer is no. Is there any multiplication and division? Answer is yes, I have multiplication right here. What's a negative 3 times 2? That's a negative 6 minus your negative 4, right? So now do any addition and subtraction on top. Negative 6 minus minus 4, that's a negative 6 plus 4. So what do you end up with on the top of the bar? Negative 6 plus 4 is a negative 2. I'm going to change colors here so we can see this a little better. Now let's do below the bar. Any parentheses? No. None that have work to be done in them. Any exponents? No. Is there any multiplication and division? Answer is yes, right here. So you have 4 minus, what's 3 times a negative 3? So that's 4 minus a negative 9, minus 13. Now, do you have any addition and subtraction? Answer is yes. So let's see, minus 9 means 4 plus 9 minus 13. Let's see, now add and subtract in order. 4 plus 9 is 13. 4 plus 9 is 13. 1, 2, yep. And what's 13 minus 13? 0. So I get a negative 2 over 0. That is not my answer. What is my answer? Is that 0? Is that undefined? Or is that indeterminate? The answer is undefined. So when you have a fraction bar, a division bar, it's PEMDAS over PEMDAS. All right, last one is example 6. Now the confusing thing with example 6 is you have a lot of symbols there, a lot of grouping symbols. So I'm going to outline some of these. Really, you have some parentheses with work to be done inside, the very inside of this, don't you? And then you have a set of brackets. And then on the very outside, you have braces. All right? Now, the idea here is you work from the inside out. So there's another little unwritten rule with PEMDAS. You start from the inside and you work your way out this way. All right, so on the very inside in my green, let's do that first. So I'm going to, what is a negative 4 take away 3? 4 degrees below 0 drops 3 more, that's a negative 7. What's a negative 8 minus 2? So drops 8 degrees, drops 2 more, that's a negative 10. All right, so what do I have now inside the red brackets? I'm going to write that out. You have 3 brace, 2 bracket, negative 7 times a negative 10 minus 4 bracket brace. Now continue working on the inside. What do I do first on the inside? Well, PEMDAS says you multiply first and then subtract. So 70, right? So you have 3 brace, 2 bracket, 70 minus 4 bracket brace. Continue working from the inside out. 70 minus 4, so you have 3 brace, 2 bracket, 70 minus 4 is 66. So really, inside the brackets, we're ending up with 66. Now, continue working on the inside. What's 2 times 66? You get 132. So you have 3 brace, 132. Now here, the braces really are showing multiplication now. So you're going to take 3 times 132. And we get 396. So a little harder problem. You work your way from the inside out. And you got to write it out. You cannot, there's just no way you can take a calculator and figure this out without writing some of the steps out. So the whole idea here was order of operations and a review of PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.